Hey guys, so there's actually going to be two parts to this video because for one I have to keep my cool until the second part, and you'll know why when that part comes. Because I'm very pissed off about some information that I found out. Okay, so I'm sorry I didn't post any videos or anything. I'm uploading the video from the night before we left. My mom bought me a birthday cake. She was very adamant on going to Walmart by herself, and so I knew what she was up to. She's not very sneaky. I knew she was gonna do that. So it kind of uplifted our spirits for a little bit. But then we ran into more hotel trouble, and of course, and it just yeah, I'll talk about that in the second video. So we were just really busy, and there was just no time for video. That and because of the problems with the hotel, one of them being the electricity, my phone could never hold more of a charge than like 40%. So usually my phone was like 20% or less. So it was very hard to take video whenever I did have a few minutes to do it. Because by the time I'd have a few minutes to take video, it was like very low on battery, and with us being where we were, I had to use navigation and everything, so it ate up a lot of battery very quick, and I had to save battery in case there was an emergency or something. So that's why I wasn't able to take a lot of video, which really sucked because I wanted to take video while we were driving home and everything, and it didn't happen. So anyways, the night before we left, Monday night, she bought me a cake. You'll see that video. I'm uploading it now. And then we finished packing, and she went ahead and loaded the car. Before that, I was able to get in the hot tub for a few minutes. We had an issue with the laundry. Somebody touched our laundry and pulled it out of the washer. I think I spoke about that in another video. Whenever I write my review on the hotel, which will be here in a few minutes, I'm going to note that Gabriel, one of the third shift staff, was very awesome. I give him a 5-star review. Everybody else, I don't know their names. I didn't care to get their names. They're going down in my reviews. I actually need to sit here and write out. We didn't have time to write out everything, but that is how bad this hotel was. I actually need to sit here and write down everything that was wrong with the hotel before I make that video and before I write that review, because there was just so many things wrong. Anyways, I'll get to that in the second video. He was just very nice. I got in the hot tub, and it helped a lot. I was able to walk a little better. But I was still needing the wheelchair a little bit because of that muscle episode that I had the night before. The next day, we went and had my consultation with the rheumatologist. I'm not very religious. Anybody who knows me, you know my religious views. I'm an animist pagan. I do believe in God, but I do not believe it in the Christian views. I don't. Um, I don't believe in organized religion. Um, we're just going to leave it at that. Okay. I believe in religion in a philosophical way, not a religious way. Anyways, as we're sitting there in the waiting room, which usually we're not in the waiting room, but maybe 5 or 10 minutes, if that long, which we were only in there for a few minutes, this lady who was sitting there got up and came to me and put her hand on my leg, and she said, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what she said. But she looked at me and she said, I don't know what it was, but something told me to come up to you and tell you that you're in the right place and you will be healed here, or you will find your answer here, or something like that. And we were in the rheumatology office instead of the neurology office. And but she said something like, you'll find your answer here, or something like that. Like, it was just weird. And she said, I'll pray for you. Now, normally, when a Christian does that, I normally dismiss them because they stand there and they want to pray with you and whatnot. She didn't do that. She just came up to me and said, something told me to tell you that you're in the right place and you'll find your answer here, and I'll pray for you. And then she just walked away. So that kind of I don't know, that kind of touched something deep in me. I don't know. So, of course, Mom and I, it struck a couple tears. Maybe we are, and, maybe this is where we were supposed to be to begin with. And then when we were called up, we had to pass her to get to where we were going. And as we were passing her, she said, remember Psalms 23, which, is as I walk through the valley of shadow of death type thing. Which, in a philosophical point, is kind of how I feel. That I'm walking through the valley, in a philosophical way, of course. So that kind of hit heavy. And, as we're thinking about that, we go into this office, and the doctor, I can't remember how to pronounce her name unless I'm looking at it. She was very attentive, versus the neurologist who did not listen to a fucking word I said, which I'll get to in the second one, the second video. I have proof now that he didn't listen to a word I said. But this rheumatologist, she listened to everything I said, wrote it down word for word, and she told me, we'll do some testing and see what we can find. And of course, my dumb ass forgot to bring my medical records, even though they were in the car, just because I hadn't needed to bring them with me anymore after my neurology consult. I forgot to bring them with me. But I told her, my CRP has been elevated for the past 2 years, significantly. Which, she said, okay, then we need to figure out why. I'm like, thank you, because no other doctor has cared to address that. And that's been my major concern, is I have inflammation somewhere, but nobody cares to figure out where. So she ran some tests, and my neurologist, he decided, since I already had an MRI of my brain and neck, he decided to do an MRI of my spine. Now, I thought he meant, since I already had an MRI of my neck, I thought he was going to do an MRI from my neck down. No, he does from my top of my neck to my mid back. And he doesn't do my lower back, which makes no sense. If you're going to do my spine, just go ahead while I'm in there, go ahead and do my whole freaking spine. And she even looked at that and she was like, I don't understand why he didn't do your whole spine. She's like, so we'll go ahead and do an MRI of your lower spine. Luckily, this MRI machine was a little bit bigger than the last one. So I ended up sleeping through it. When they did my lumbar puncture, after they quit hitting the nerve, because she didn't realize how flexible I was, I bent, like, crouched the way they wanted me to. And I told her I could crouch more. And she was like, well, I don't want you to be uncomfortable. And I was really tired. And I was trying to take a nap anytime I could because we were going to be leaving that night. And something was making me very tired. Well, it turns out my pulse is trying to regulate itself. So my tachycardia is trying to fix itself. My pulse for 3 days in a row was really, really low. So I was very lethargic and very, very tired for 3 days in a row because I was taking my medicine that makes it low. So it was making it low and normal. So it was normal to low. And I'm not used to it being normal. So it was just making me very lethargic and very sleepy like. And because I'm not used to it being normal. So now until I can get into the cardiologist, I'm only going to take it once a day. Because I think it's trying to regulate itself. Just like all my other symptoms that have come, they fix themselves. And I think this is one of the symptoms trying to fix itself. So anyways, I'm on the gurney and she keeps hitting this nerve and it's like hurting really bad. And she's like, yeah, she's like, I can feel it. I'm trying to work around it. She's like, do you think you can crouch some more? I'm like, oh yeah, I can crouch some more. And I used the railing of the bed and the wall to, scrooge my feet up more. And I actually had my head touching my knees. And she said, oh, I didn't know you were that flexible. And I said, yeah, I told you I could flex more. She's like, well, normally we don't, have patients, crouch that far because, normally they can't. And normally, we want them to be comfortable. She's like, I don't want you to feel like you need to move here soon. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm fine. I can breathe just fine. And she's like, oh, okay, then I'll go ahead and, go back in. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're really open now. And she's like, I'm in. As soon as she said she was in, I fell asleep. And then she woke me up to tell me that she got the amount she needed. And I think she took 6 milliliters, which is just a little over a teaspoon. And, she woke me up to show me how much she took out. And it was clear and everything. And then, she put a Band-Aid on me and everything. And she told me that I could lie down. And she got me all comfortable and everything, put a pillow between my legs. And told me that I could lay down. And she said that she was going to go get my mom. And that she didn't have any other labs. Because we had mentioned that we were leaving that night. And so instead of the protocol is to let me sleep or lay down or sleep for half an hour after the spinal tap so I don't get a headache. But she said that I asked her if I could lay down for at least an hour. I said, because, we're getting ready to leave and I'm driving first. And she said that as long as there's no other labs afterwards, that was fine. Well, she said she didn't have any labs, so she let me sleep for an hour. And so as soon as she said that, I was out. And she told me, she's like, I've never had anybody fall asleep during a spinal tap. I'm like, well, I slept through my MRI too, so that's just how lethargic my pulse was making me, because I'm not used to having a normal pulse. I mean, since November, and probably before that, before they put me on the medication, because I started feeling the effects of the high pulse before that. So, I mean, so for November, December, January, February, March. So for 5 or 6 months, I've not had a normal pulse. So I'm not used to having a normal pulse. So I mean, I was just exhausted. So I slept through an MRI and lumbar puncture. Once she stopped hitting that nerve, I fell asleep. Of course, I mean, it was only for a few minutes because, I mean, she said that the fluid came out pretty easily, so I guess I only fell asleep for a few minutes while the fluid drained out. But when my mom woke me up, she had me drink, and I ended up like sucking down 2 apple juice boxes. And she was trying to get me to set up to drink them, and I was like, So she just put the straw in my mouth, and I just sucked them down. And the weird thing is, and this is why I'm very adamant on the cyst being part of my issue, is when I got up, I forgot to reach for my cane. And I got up. And, my mom helped me get up as usual. And I started walking. And even though it still hurts to walk, I've been walking without my cane a lot more. Like, it's easier. Like, I still walk with my cane, like, to, like, up the steps and stuff, because it's still hard for me to walk up the stairs and everything, and up hills and whatnot. But since they took out just that little bit of spinal fluid, coincidentally, it's been easier. It's not been less painful, but it's been easier for me to walk without my cane and without assistance, essentially. That's an awful big coincidence, that they take out just a little bit of spinal fluid and I can walk easier. But yet this has nothing to do with it. Anyways, later on, I don't know if I've posted a video about this or not, the neurologist calls me back and for a follow-up, and tells me that all of my tests came back fine, except for the sweat test, the one that they put me in the oven. That the backs of my hands, the tops of my foot, the tops of my knees, and this part, like this part of my elbow, does not sweat properly. It still sweat, but it didn't sweat properly. And that's why they had to keep me in there for a full 45 minutes, was they were trying to get those areas to sweat more. I don't give a fuck. Really? Is that really significant? Is that really significant? I mean, really. That I don't sweat enough on the tops of my hands? Really? Or on the tops of my knees? I didn't even know you sweat there. Like, really? Well, the doctor who did the report said that it could be caused by my medication. So my neurologist took that and ran with that and said, first he went with my symptoms could be caused by my depression. Now he's saying my symptoms could be caused by my medication. And he's lucky he wasn't in front of me when he did this did this follow up. Luckily, he was on the phone, because then I got pissed off and I got really shitty with him. And I said, okay, I'm not a fortune teller. I didn't go to my doctor and say, okay, I'm getting ready to have muscle spasms and cramps. I need these medications. I didn't go to the pain management and say, okay, in 6 months, I'm going to start having pain. I'm going to need you to go ahead and write me a prescription of this pain medication. I didn't go to the neurologist and say, okay, in about 2 years, I'm going to have a car wreck causing me to have, instead of my regular PMDD migraines, I'm going to have left hemispherical migraines. So I'm going to need you to start me on migraine medicine. I didn't go to the cardiologist and say, okay, in a couple months, I'm going to have tachycardia. I'm going to have orthostatic tachycardia. So I'm going to need you to go ahead and start me on blood pressure medication. And then start taking all those medications, because doctors would write me those medications because I'm a fortune teller and because I knew ahead of time I was going to have those symptoms, and start taking those medications and then develop the symptoms, because that's how it fucking works. Just like whenever he suggested the depression, just like, because I knew that I was going to be sick. So I got depressed, and it caused me to be sick. What the fuck? Like, do you think before you speak at all? Like, do you have any common sense? Any at all? Like, this is supposed to be part of the second video, but I'm going after his medical license. He should not be treating patients at all. Just to give you a little snippet of the second video, I'm calling everybody that I have to call, and if I have to get a lawyer, I will. I'm going after his medical license, because he should not be treating patients. It scares me that it's a weekday, so he's treating patients right now, and that scares me, because he should not be. And I was screwed out of my medical care, and I'll get to that in the second video. Anyways, so I got shitty with him, and I said, so none of this is caused by the golf ball size cyst in my head. And he said no. And he used the word nope. N-O-P-E. Nope. No. Nope. But it's caused by my medications. My symptoms are caused by my medications. Okay. Yeah. Because that makes sense. I don't even know where to start with that. So anyways, we got everything together and we left after my last test. Unfortunately, the rheumatologist was very adamant on me getting a joint test instead of a bone density scan. Unfortunately, they didn't have any open appointments, and we were trying to get on the wait list, and we got there too late, and it didn't happen. But when I see the rheumatologist here, I'm going to tell him that the rheumatologist at the Mayo Clinic really wanted me to have this done, so hopefully they'll be able to do that. And then, so once we were done with everything, we already had the van loaded up. And that was whenever I realized how well I was able to walk, because I set my cane up against the front seat, and Mom and I were rearranging the car, because once we put the wheelchair in the car, we were able to stack shit on top of it and actually get the back seat organized, the cooler and everything, so that we could reach everything while we're riding and everything. And I was moving around the car, packing and moving stuff without my cane. And that's when I realized, Mom, I'm walking around and stepping up on this curb and stepping down, and I'm not using my cane. I mean, it still hurts, but I'm able to do it. Um, and that's when, we kind of put two and two together. They just took spinal fluid out. That's just an awfully big coincidence. So anyways, I did, she had stayed up all night, um, packing and getting ready, and let me sleep for about 3 hours before my appointments that day. So, and since I had taken a 3 hour nap and then a nap in the MRI and a nap during my spinal tap and everything, I went ahead and drove first. I ended up, my eyes were very tired because it was dark and raining and foggy, and I have an issue where when I can't see far ahead of me, it makes my eyes strain and I start cross-eyed. So I stopped at a rest stop and, of course, locked the doors and everything. And, or no, the first time I stopped at Love's. And I stopped there and I tried to wake her up to see if she needed to go to the bathroom. And she didn't wake up. She was out. By that time, I already drove like 2 hours. So I made it 2 hours, and but I couldn't make it any further. Like, my eyes were just, I had to stop. So I went in and used the bathroom, and we'd only used like a quarter tank of gas. So I went ahead and topped it off, and got me some coffee and everything, and that's whenever I drank the coffee and everything, and I tried to drive, and I made it another 2 hours, I think, and I couldn't do it anymore, so I stopped at a rest stop and slept for like a half an hour, and it didn't, or I stopped at another Love's, I think, and I slept for like a half an hour, and it didn't help. I think I drove for like 45 minutes, and I found a rest stop. And that's when Mom woke up, and I woke her up because I'm like, I know she's got to use the bathroom by now. And I woke her up. I was like, hey, Mom, we're at a rest stop. I've got to lay down for at least another half an hour. But I woke you up to make sure you don't have to use the bathroom. And I'm glad I did, because she woke up. She's like, oh my God, I got to pee so bad. So she got about, actually, when I totaled it, I drove about 3 hours before I woke her up. Or no, it was 4 hours before I woke her up. She got about 4 hours sleep. So I drove about a total of 4 hours before I woke her up. And then I slept for about 40 minutes. And then I drove for probably about another 2 hours, I think. And then when we pulled over for gas, she decided to go ahead and take over driving. Which I'm glad she did, because I felt awake and I was like, no, I'm fine to drive. And then as soon as she started driving, like, I sat there and I was eating, and all of a sudden I got so tired I fell asleep with food in my mouth. So I'm glad she took over, because it wouldn't have been much longer. I would have had to pull over and switch her. So she drove, and it actually only took us, it said it was a 12-hour drive, and it actually only took us 13 hours this time instead of the 15 that it took last time. Of course, we took a different route this time. We took the route that I wanted to take last time, but it had a lot more construction on it going westbound. So we had to take the Iowa way, which was a little bit longer, but not by much. But for some reason, it took us 15 hours instead of the 12 it said. But I think it's just because we stopped a lot more and everything. And this time we were just wanting to get the fuck home and everything. So anyways, we get home, and for some reason my doctor wouldn't refill my Klonopin, and I couldn't figure out why. So on the way home, I called the State Street Walgreens, and they said, well, maybe they thought someone got a hold of your bottle, and they didn't want to refill it in a different state. I'm like, yeah, but my doctor knows I was going to a nail clinic in Minnesota. So it's just kind of weird that they wouldn't refill it, yet they would refill my baclofen. So I don't know why. And with a benzo, you miss 2 doses and you start to go through withdrawal. It's a very quick withdrawal. When you're on it consistently. Now, if you take a benzo PRN as needed, you don't go through withdrawal. But when you take it consistently, like I do, and at a decent dose as I am on, you miss more than 2 doses, you start to withdraw. And I know my withdrawal symptoms from it, because I've gone through withdrawal from it before. And it sucks. And as a doctor, you should know not to have your patient withdraw from benzo. I mean, it could have sent me to the hospital eventually. I mean, it's bad. And, I mean, it can get very bad. And, she didn't call me and say, you need to titrate down. I don't want you on this medication. Nothing. She just didn't refill it. So Walgreens sent a fax to her to refill it. She sent a fax back denying it. But then the nurse practitioner there, the one that the one that treated me like shit, the one that verbally abused me, the one that I reported, the only doctor that I've ever reported ever until I get ready to report this one. But this one, I'm actually going after his license. Like this, he does not need to be practicing medicine. This one, she just had a shitty day and took it out on me. I just wanted to report it to her boss. But I didn't. But every staff member in that doctor's office knows she's not supposed to treat me or anything. She sent a separate fax to Walgreens behind my doctor saying to reorder it and added 3 refills to it, which made absolutely no sense. So I'm like, okay, is that her form of an apology? And why is my doctor not refilling it? So now I've got to call my doctor's office and figure out why my doctor is not refilling my medication. I'm very confused. I've said nothing but good things about my doctor. I mean, she's the most awesome doctor I've ever had, besides Dr. Grumley and Dr. Fisher, as a primary physician. I've never had, besides, like I said, Dr. Grumley and Dr. Fisher. Dr. Crow is amazing, and yet she wouldn't refill this and just left me to withdraw from it. I don't understand. And then, of course, my insurance had another issue with them. Last Tuesday, before we left, we had the issue of not being able to get my pain medication because they hadn't applied the payment, even though they had received the payment. They were able to apply the payment so that I could get my medication. Somehow the payment unapplied itself. So whenever I went yesterday to get the medication, it said that I had not paid my premium. So I called my insurance, and the lady said that I did not pay my premium. And I said, oh, yes, I have. And not only have I, but I called and one of your people called the billing department and had them apply the payment. I was told to wait 3 hours. I waited 3 hours, and then I was able to go to the pharmacy, have them rerun my insurance, and I was able to get my prescription. I said, so my payment has been applied. So what's the problem? And she said, I'm so sorry for this. Da, da, da. She said, let me go ahead and fix this. Give it 3 hours, and you can go get your prescription. So I didn't question it because I'm like, I know they're not going to answer me because they're stupid. They must be from Minnesota. Um, so sorry if you're from Minnesota, but like I said, most of the people that we met in Minnesota were fucking stupid. Okay. If you're from Minnesota and you're not stupid, congratulations. You must have like hit the jackpot of the gene pool because the people we met in Minnesota were either really freaking rude or just really fucking stupid. Like they were either rude or they were nice as pie, nice and sweet as pie, but just dumber than a box of rocks. I'm sorry. That was my observation out of everybody that we met in Minnesota. Now, anyways, going back to the whole prescription thing. She tells me it's 3 hours. I'm on the phone with Sarah, bitching about everything, and telling her that we made it home safe. And I get a call back from the insurance, and it's the same woman, and she says that for some reason it fixed itself, and my account is active, and I can go get my prescription now. And I said, okay. So just to reiterate, just to confirm, I can go to my pharmacy right now and pick up my prescription, and the insurance will run through. And she said that is correct. So about 20 minutes later, we're at my pharmacy, and guess what? My insurance won't go through. So I call again, and I get this guy, and he says that it's going to take 24 hours. I'm like, okay, so we went from 3 hours to right away to now 24 hours. And I said, I want to speak to your supervisor because obviously y'all don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I was like, I just want to know how my payment can be applied and then unapply itself. Like, how does that happen? And he keeps talking about how she reset something and it takes up their software takes up to 24 hours. I said, okay, you can repeat that as many times as you like, but that doesn't answer my question about how my payment can unapply itself. And he still repeated, like I said, let me speak to your supervisor. So I'm on hold for like 5 minutes, and we're still sitting at the damn pharmacy. I'm on hold for like 5 or 6 minutes, trying to get a hold of it, and it hangs up on me. Now keep in mind, while I was on the phone with him earlier, it hung up on me. Luckily, he called me back. Otherwise, I was going to be super pissed. But this time, they didn't call me back. So then I had to call back, and I get this lady. And I said, okay, look. I said, I'm going to tell you this right up front. And I explained to her the whole situation. I said, okay, so now, my question is, how can my payment that was applied to my account unapply itself and need to be reapplied? And she said, I understand your frustration. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. And she paused. I said, now, answer my question. How can my payment be applied and then unapply itself? Because that makes no sense. Because last Tuesday, it applied itself. And I was able, it was applied, and I was able to get my medication. And it was in March, so we're in the same month. It was in a different month. And now it unapplied itself, and now I cannot get a medication that I desperately need. And she gave me the same thing, the whole 24-hour da-da-da. I said, okay, you're telling me the exact same thing that the guy told me earlier. I said, you're not answering my question. And she told me it again and again and again. I said, so wait. And then she mentioned something about in order to make sure this doesn't happen again, they're sending a ticket to IT. I said, so it's a computer glitch. Yeah. Like, she'd never heard that term before. I said, okay, if you all would have told me that in the fucking beginning, we would have saved a lot of conversation and a lot of phone calls, and I could be at home in bed. I said, because like I told you earlier, I just drove 13 hours from Minnesota. I just had a spinal tap yesterday. My back is killing me. I want to go home and go to bed. And instead, I'm sitting here in front of my pharmacy arguing with you whenever they could have told me in the beginning there was a computer glitch and I need to wait 24 hours for my insurance to be reapplied, which I'd still be pissed off about, but I wouldn't be talking to you about it right now. I'd be at home pissed off about it. And she's like, well, I'm very sorry, da da da. I'm like, no, you're not. You're stupid. All y'all had to tell me was there was a computer problem and that y'all were working to fix it. And none of you all could tell me that. That's all you had to say. Instead, you keep repeating the same damn thing that does not come anywhere near close to answering my question. I went off. I'm pissed. I'm so tired of this insurance place. I'm just like, what the fuck else can go wrong? Like, I'm waiting for the fucking roof to fall in. Like, seriously. Like, I'm waiting for my leg to fall off. I'm waiting for the roof to fall in. I mean, I'm waiting for the water heater to go out. Like, I'm seriously just like, what the fuck? So, here in about 3 hours, I can go get my medication. Finally. And one thing that really pissed me off, I said, okay, so when I go to the hospital here in about 3 or 4 hours from my withdrawal symptoms, I said, will my insurance cover that? And she said, well, since you're in the grace period, it covers doctors and hospital visits. It's just the pharmacy runs it through right then and there. So pharmaceuticals, it doesn't cover within the grace period. It has to be actually active right then and there. She wasn't concerned at all that I just said that I'm going to have to go to the hospital because they won't apply my payment that was already applied. But at least she answered my fucking question. I swear, like, I have a black cloud over my head. Like, I'm just so, anyways, so Mom brought me home, and I was so pissed off and everything that I couldn't lay down. And with my blanket being in the hotel, I had to wash it, and I'm like, well, fuck it, I gotta wait for it to wash and dry before I can lay down. So I went ahead and unpacked, even though everybody told me not to. But I'm like, I can't lay down until my blanket's clean. So I went ahead and unpacked and everything, and that way it's on my mind, and that way I don't have a bunch of shit laying around in my living room. And then, of course, I get a bunch of bill collectors calling me, and all that lovely stuff. Poor Andrew had to go to work last night with a fever and no sleep, even though I told him to stay home. And I think Mom finally got some sleep, and I can't get a hold of her, so that tells me she's probably still sleeping. So I hope she did get some sleep. I got some sleep and woke up in quite a bit of pain today. My lower back, where she hit that nerve, is hurting, and she told me it would probably hurt for quite a few days. I can't lift over 5 pounds until it stops hurting. So that would be interesting. So I'm pretty much recliner bound until that stops hurting. So, yeah. So I've rambled on and on. We made it home safe. Oh yeah, we stopped in Henryville for gas, and I accidentally left my phone in the bathroom. The heroin addict bitch that used the bathroom after me. Luckily she saw me with a cane. I guess she, sort of had a heart. I had $31 in there, and she took 10 of that. Luckily she didn't take all of it because 20 of it was for gas for us to make it home. So now instead of having $11 in cash on me, I only have $1 in cash. Luckily I still have $5 in the bank for my prescription, which is all I need. I mean, got everything I need, so I'm okay with that. But really, bitch, really. She was nice enough to turn my phone into the cashier, but she had to take $10 out. So I hope she ODs on her next dose. Yeah, I hate to wish that on somebody, but if you're that much of an addict that you have to steal from somebody, especially when you see that they're fucking handicapped. I mean, it's bad enough to steal from anybody, but when you steal from somebody that you see is, fucking walking with a cane, I mean, that's just low of the low. Um, whatever. It's $10, and it's $10 that I gotta pay back to somebody, so whatever. So anyways, I'm gonna end this here. And here in a minute, I'll get the report out that is really fucking hilarious. That is from a neurologist. And I'll have that posted. So get ready for that one because it's just fucking hilarious.